Hey, everybody, this is Bea Williams with Place, Ben Kinney Companies, all sorts of different businesses, Via Group, Empire Building, you name it. I am so excited today to continue our discussion on shift tactics. The market is shifting and changing, and we have to change with it. So our weekly webinar features one of our most popular guests we've had recently, Bryan Crawford out of Farmington, New Mexico. Hi, Bryan.
Hey, how are you?
Good. We're going to get right to it and dive right in. What we're doing today is a follow-up to a webinar we did, I think it was last month, if I recall, on expired listings. And I got so many responses from that, Bryan. Like, everybody wants a deep dive with you. So we really appreciate you coming back and spending time with us and deep diving with us. So thank you.
Well, thanks for the invite. You never know when you go on a webinar if you crash and burn, but I guess if you get invited back, you probably went okay.
It's a good thing. Yeah. If you get invited back, it's a good thing. We should also, just for the record, if you guys have any referrals whatsoever in Farmington, New Mexico, it's New Mexico Dream House, right? That's the name of your...
We're a state now since 2000 or since 1912. 1912, we became a state. So New Mexico, not the old one.
Oh, what did I say? Did I say Mexico?
No, I'm just joking. That's always the joke. People don't know that New Mexico is actually a state. They think that we're...
They don't?
Yeah. It's
okay. What?
Phenomenon.
No.
Yeah. When I traveled to the Midwest or even in Idaho, when I was a kid, especially now that we have the internet, it seems to help. But when I was a kid, when we would travel, people would be appalled that our baseball team was a bunch of like blonde hair, blue eyed kids that spoke perfect English. And they would ask, like, how do you guys speak such great English being from Mexico? We're like, no, it's New Mexico. Yeah. How do you speak such great English? Like, well, we've been a state since 1912, so that helps. Anyway, but New Mexico. How do
people not know that? That's amazing to me, and probably not good. That's interesting.
It's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, New Mexico, Farmington, New Mexico, which we should also state is a really small market, right? Because how many people in your area?
Yeah. So there's 36,000 people in Farmington. There are 31,000 single family homes. There's about 120,000 people in the surrounding area. We are surrounded by reservations. So only 6% of our land is actually privately held. The rest of it's owned by the federal government. So it's a great spot. You can jump on a mountain bike and you can ride on federal lands for hours and never see people. It's amazing.
Wow. That is cool. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Sure. Your success story is cool because you've just done so many expired and canceled listings, right? And so I think you've been waiting for this moment. I think you've been waiting for the market to shift because this is secretly like what you love, right? Like, you're just super good at it. This is how you made your business. How many expired and canceled listings? I can't remember now. Did you say you got like your first few years of being in real estate? So
I took 33 listings my very first year in real estate. 27 of those were expired listings. And
crazy.
You're right. A market shift is always inconvenient because your sales cycle, if the average buyer takes 6 weeks to identify the right house once they start looking, your average sales cycle just extends like crazy when you go from, let's say, 10 days on market average to 100 days on market average. So there's a little bit of discomfort for a couple months, but in reality, once you get your deal flow back to the right spot and you keeping your pipeline full, your business expenses go way, way down because all you need is a phone and maybe a couple subscriptions to work expired listings. So I, for one, am excited about the profit margins it's going to bring into our business the next year or so. People thought I was crazy when I got into real estate in this market at the time that I did because houses weren't selling. But we just came in, swooped up the houses that weren't selling and made it a profitable business model. So we've really struggled to differentiate ourselves over the last couple of years where there haven't been expired listings. And I think we're going to see some pop up soon.
Yeah. 100% we will. I mean, yes, we will. The market, if it hasn't quite returned to this yet, it will. It's just the nature of the beast. It's a pendulum.
Right.
So, okay. So what we want to do today is we want to deep dive. Last time we did a really nice overview. Today, we're going to deep dive into, really, it kind of stems from all the questions we got and all the comments and emails and feedback I got afterwards. So I kind of chose the topics based on that, what everyone was kind of asking about. So we're going to kind of talk about setting the appointment itself, which I would argue is the most important thing. Getting the at-bat, to me, is the thing. My regular listeners know I glorify the appointment more than any other thing in the entire sales process, right? Yeah. If you don't even get an at-bat, forget it. You could even have a low batting average and you're gonna, a stopped clock is gonna hit the right time twice a day. You know what I mean? But you have to be at bat a certain amount of times. So we're gonna talk about objections that you're kind of seeing and hearing for the most part, setting the appointment and how you handle those. We're going to talk about a few objections in the meeting itself, right? Once you have it. And then I asked you to kind of tee up and kind of really walk us through. You're going to actually set up a video for us, one of your famous expired videos. And then, maybe within that, some tactics and, things will slip out. One of the cool things you told me about is you have really cool software that you use for safety purposes, which I think we should talk about. Mm-hmm. So that's going to kind of be what we go over today. So let's start with the most important thing, setting the appointment and what you say. I think we should start with what you say and then go into common objections.
Yeah. So everybody has scripts, right? And I don't necessarily like scripts. I like good questions. So when it comes to setting an appointment, I'm calling, and often these people who have expired listings, there's really one of three things that happens. One, they have no idea that their listing expired. And I would say it's shocking to me how often that happens. Number two, they are fully aware that their listing expired and they are angry about it. They're not happy that their listing expired. They don't understand why their house hasn't sold. They're frustrated with all real estate professionals because they've had their house shown 30 times after 6 months. They don't have any actionable feedback. And number three is that person who wants to relist with their current agent because, well, I don't know anybody else, or because I feel like I should because they spent all this time, money, and effort on selling my house. And so there's really three types of people that you're going to get in contact with. So number one, the person who is confused and they don't understand that, they don't know that their house just popped up as an expired listing. I'm gonna ask some questions, and then I'm gonna wait in silence to solicit a response, because I want to know how it makes them feel. I'm breaking some bad news to them because their house listed and didn't sell the first time. So basically, that's a call that I'm calling, and it's like ring ring. Hey, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, this is Bryan with New Mexico Dream House at Keller Williams. Did I catch you at a bad time? Usually they're going to say no, or because you're conditioned to say no. So if you say, did I catch you at a bad time? They're going to say no. So you say, well, I called because your house popped up as an expired listing on the MLS. And then I'm just going to stay silent. And this is in every case, right? Because I want to find out which one of those three people they are. I want to find out, are you angry? Are you relisting? Or you don't even know? And so some people go, huh? What? Like, my house? What does that mean? Well, as of this morning, the reason I'm calling is that your house popped up on the MLS as an expired listing, which means the broker who has listed it has represented everybody else that their contract with you has ended. Were you aware that your house isn't being marketed for sale anymore? And that's when they either tell me, oh yeah, actually I did know that, or no, I didn't know that. Oh, and my response when they said, no, I didn't know that, I'm just going to say, oh, and I'm not going to say a word. I'm going to sit in silence. I'm going to let them unpack their emotions about it. Because by this time, if we know, I forget the exact statistic, but we can make some up on the fly. This will be really close. I forget if it was 93 or 97% of people when surveyed by the National Association of Realtors. So their number one pain point was communication.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that their last broker was a poor communicator. I'm calling with that presumption. So when they say they don't know, I'm just going to sit in silence and wait to feel those emotions. I'm going to mirror and match some of those emotions. I'm going to act surprised, So, when they say, no, I had no idea. Like, so it's not on the market at all now. Like the sign's still in the front yard. Well, yeah, the sign's still in the front yard, but as of 12:01 a.m., your house isn't on Zillow, Trulia, KellerWilliams.com, nmdreamhouse.com. It's not on any of the websites, and every realtor in town knows that it's expired. So you're probably going to get a lot of calls about your house, probably more than the whole time you had it listed, and that's going to be from agents kind of going after some low-hanging fruit. And so I'm starting that dialogue, and after they express whatever it is. So that's the first scenario, right? After that, most conversations go the same. The second one is they're angry. And so this is the all real estate agents are crooks spill that I like to say. And I would say 40 to 50% of expired listings are all real estate agents are crooks people. Because if it expired the first time, I can't tell you how many times I was the fourth agent on the job, fourth broker. We're brokers in New Mexico, but I was the fourth broker to list that house. And so they heard empty promises. They heard lots of, well, I'm very different in the way I do my marketing. I use a professional photographer, and I have a DSLR. I would never use my iPhone, but I'm pretty dang good. I took a photography class in high school, and whatever it is, they're tired of the sales pitch.
I feel like we're moving into the market where you want to be the second, third, or fourth agent right now.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly where you want to be, because everybody else has done the hard work of finding out who wants to sell the house, but they didn't do the hard work of consistent price reductions over time. Right. So coming in, they know that something's wrong. They know that their house may have been overpriced. Unfortunately, a lot of real estate professionals don't know that discomfort can cause some level of long-term pleasure for somebody. Temporary discomfort can cause long-term pleasure. What I mean by that is if they're willing to have the temporary discomfort of having a tough pricing conversation with their client, then that can cause them to hit their long-term goals if they're willing to enter into that conversation. So the second person, all real estate agents are crooks. I'm going to sit in silence. I'm going to hear them out, and they're going to say, well, all real estate agents are crooks. We've had all these empty promises. They said they'd communicate. They'd say they'd do this. They said this. They said this. They said this. And man, I'm sorry to hear that. In fact, I would love to say that I'm surprised to hear that. The reality of it is that's exactly why I got into the real estate business. My wife and I, we were working a job. We decided we were going to build our dream house. We put our first house up for sale. I did all the right things. I interviewed a few agents, talked to them all. They all promised me the world. And then when I listed it, I listed it, and I never heard from that dude again. And so when I got into real estate, I really wanted to change the way real estate was marketed and transacted in San Juan County. So, man, I feel you. That's stressful. Tell me this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What is it about your house that's not working for you? And that's a different kind of conversation. Well, our house is, because they're going to say, like, I want my house. They've talked themselves back into keeping their house. It's not working. They have 5 kids and they have 2 bedrooms. Like, mom and teenage daughters are sharing a bathroom. That's awful. Whatever it is that motivated them to get on the market originally is still a motivation for them getting on the market. So you uncover those needs. And again, you listen to their complaints. You take, I once said that my success in sales came from my ability to take let me clean it up, a butt chewing that I didn't deserve. And so, they want to unleash on somebody. I'll be your punching bag. You can beat me up for what that other agent did. And then I'm going to say, you know what? I can't blame you. I would be really upset too. In fact, it really frustrates me that the person bagging my groceries last week, has a real estate license today, and they're ruining our industry. And I'm real careful about that because some of that could be disparaging, but I think it's disparaging a practice, not an individual.
Well, and what I'm hearing you're doing is you're listening to them. They're feeling heard and seen, but then you're redirecting. And then you're like, you go with all of their complaint, whatever it is, you hate agents. Yeah, I can see that. You'll add something in or whatever. And then tell me what's not working about your current home. You've completely redirected that energy and that focus. That is what a sales professional does. We lead them down the path that we want them to walk down. That's really good. Yeah.
And it's for their own good. It's not some slimy sales tactic. Mm-hmm. It's, I got into this business. Zig Ziglar always said, if you help enough other people get what they want in life, you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. Mm-hmm. And the way to do that is by directing a conversation and being a professional. So yeah, identify the problem, hear the problem, and make notes. I'm always taking notes, and you can hear it. Like my desk set up, I have my microphone over here, and oftentimes I'm not on a headset. You can hear me typing away, and it's noisy because I come down hard on those keys. But
I do. I get people complaining about that all the time. I'm a very loud typer. yeah,
same. So when I'm talking to these people, I'm constantly, and then I'll even notate, hey, sorry if you hear my keyboard clacking away. I'm just taking notes because I want to understand, where it went wrong initially. And so once I uncover their motivations, it's, what is it about your house that's not working for you? And they start telling me what it is. Like, well, this is what it is. But you know what? It's fine. We just want to stay put. We want to get it, we want to get it sold. So tell me this, or we don't want to sell it anymore. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, tell me this. If I had a buyer for your house today, and I'm not saying that I have a buyer for your house today. I haven't seen it. I don't know. If I had a buyer for your house today and they came in and they loved the house, would it pose a problem if we were able to get you moved on in 4 to 6 weeks? And then see what their answer is. Most of the time, like, if it was that easy, then yes, I would do it. Do you have a buyer? And I said, and that's when I respond, because everybody wants to say, do you have a buyer? Do you have a buyer? Do you have a buyer? I got lots of buyers. We've got 4,900 people in our database right now that we've spent years collecting their information. We have a buyer somewhere for each property, I guarantee you. But really, what happens is you get some of these script books. I've seen some expired script books, and they're horrendous because they're completely unethical. They say, oh yeah, I have a buyer for your house. Well, let me swing by first and see if it's right for them.
I don't like that either.
And so I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to give somebody false hope. Their hope in me is that I'm going to expose their house to the market in a way that nobody else can. So, so if they ask, well, do you have a buyer? Do you have a buyer? I really don't know. And I can't promise you that I do. What I do know is that I have 15 to 20 pre-qualified buyers right now. Right now, we have 22 pre-qualified buyers. We know that because we have a good stand-up meeting every week. And so we have 22 pre-qualified buyers. And the fact that they're pre-qualified buyers and they're not under contract means they're still looking. And it might be a good fit for one of them. Can I come out at 1 o'clock and look at your house?
Are you calling recent expireds?
Oh, yeah. Like day of.
Okay. So, do they ever say, well, where were they when it was listed? We just went off the market yesterday.
Yeah. Well, and so when people say that, I just say, it's interesting because the only time your house really caught my attention is when it hit the expired list. And they go, well, what do you mean by that? Well, as a top agent in our area, I feel like it's other brokers' responsibility to bring your listing to my attention. Part of our marketing program is that we actually market your property to top agents, but that's neither here nor there. And so that's the conversation. Well, how come I never saw one of your cards? Well, like I said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I actually specialize in selling houses that didn't sell the first time. That's my specialty. I list and sell a lot of properties. I don't actually work with a ton of buyers. My job is to expose your house to the market, but our team does have 20 pre-qualified buyers or so. Let me see it and see if it might be a good fit. And so basically what I'm doing is I want to outline the importance of getting in the door. That's the most important thing. So you're taking little baby steps towards the listing. I'm not going to negotiate my listing contract over the phone. Well, how much do you charge? I'll tell somebody, I'm not going to withhold that because it makes people feel slimy. I charge X% plus X amount of dollars. And, that's more than the last person charged. Well, they didn't sell your house either.
Good. I had Anthony Zapata on last week, and he's like the king of the script that no matter whatever they say, the basic, it changes every time is, well, that's why we should meet. Like that's the script, right? And again, it can be in slightly different wording and everything, but it's basically like, well, yeah, that's why we should meet. Talk about that.
Yeah, I heard that in the sales training. I can't remember who it was one time, and we utilize that all the time. Yeah. That's exactly why we should meet. Well, I'm not selling my house for another year. Well, that's exactly why we should meet. We should talk about it now, because sometimes it takes 6 months to a year to get a house ready for the market.
I do think that warrants a conversation, because I think there have been trainings I've heard that are literally teaching you like how to sell over the phone. You have to remember your call objection is one thing, and that is to get an appointment, not to get hired. It's to get an appointment. There's a difference. Right. And so you have to always remember what your call objective is. The only, you need to be laser focused, put Post-it notes on your computer in front of you if you have to, get the appointment. I would say at all costs, but I'm with Bryan. I don't like ethics. I've never been comfortable with the, do you have a buyer? Yes. I'm like Bryan. I answer truthfully on that. I don't necessarily give the full truth. Like I may not give all the details, but I don't like that approach either. I just don't like it. Sometimes though, sometimes I will have one, especially an old expired, that's when you can really, those are great. When you can you can even reverse prospect an old expired and say, hey, I've got an agent, looking in your neighborhood, especially in the last iteration, they lost out on a house and multiple offers, but I see you expired 6 months ago. Are you still thinking about selling? Are you still open to selling? Would it, be okay in your life if you got a buyer and, sold your house in the next month? Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Anything else on setting the appointment that strikes you before we move into the appointment itself?
Ask good questions, never lie to people, operate with the assumption, understand they're not angry with you. Like these people are angry sometimes, you're going to get yelled at, and don't be demoralized by that. Just say, you know what, my competitor, this is the way I look at it, is that my competitors are doing such a sloppy job at times that they're making people that angry. How much more important, how much better would this person's life be had they called me 6 months ago instead of that guy or that gal? And that's not an arrogant statement at all. It's just, I know that my worldview is that people are inherently valued and should be treated as such, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, any of those things. People are inherently valuable because God made them that way. And so have a high view of your clients before you ever call them, and understand they're not angry at you, they're angry with the situation because they've been robbed of their hopes, dreams, and ambition.
Yeah, that's right. That's really great. That's a really good thing. Well, so let's move into that. So you get the appointment, right? How many calls, do you have a ratio or a percentage of calls to appointments set that you get?
Calls, that's a good question, because a lot of the calls we make are really bad numbers. So
contacts, it would be contacts then to appointments.
Contacts, set. If I make 10 contacts, I'm setting 7 appointments out of those 10 contacts.
That is okay. Those will not be your numbers in every market and for every skill level, everybody. Yeah. So don't get discouraged on that. It's just math. Just know your own math.
In a small market like ours, those are our numbers. And mind you, we own our market in terms of brand recognition. People just know who we are. We do community spotlight videos. We do radio. there's a lot that we're doing now that we weren't doing back then when we were doing a ton of expired listings. But often in terms of contacts and conversions, sometimes that takes from initial contact, I would say maybe it's 50%. But if you continue to nurture those contacts over the next few weeks and actually bring somebody by their house, even, those types of things, that'll increase your ratio over time. So it's a long play. But when I say long, I'm not talking like pay-per-click a year and a half long. I'm talking like 67 days on average long. Like,
Okay.
Well, that's a FSBO. So I think expireds are usually pop up back on the market within 45 days or so.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are a couple, let's just touch on a couple of the most common objections in the meeting that you, I'm going to say that you get now, or that you're preventing getting, but that you anticipate, right? Because I know how you operate. You and I are similar. Like, we know what that is out of the gate, so we're going to kind of enter the gate, covering those. So those count.
Yeah. So those, I mean, honestly, once you're in the house, there's not a ton of, I think the biggest struggle is getting the appointment. Once we're in the house, we're taking that listing.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Then what's the most important thing you can do when you're in the house to take that listing? I know the answer.
Building relationship. And
then asking for the business, closing.
What's that?
And then asking for the business and closing, I would think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're walking through and you're saying, like, here's my line. Like, I do my expired listings just like I do my listing appointments. Yeah. Who's taking me on the tour today? Oh, it's me. Okay, great. Why don't you show me around and then we'll visit. And so they're showing me around and I'm picking, I'm probably going to give more advice on an expired listing, and I'm going to come from contribution in a way that I'm not going to do on every listing appointment. But I'm going to say things like, "Oh, I noticed your family photos are back up. Did you put those back up, or did you ever take them down?" "Oh, well, we never took them down." "Were you told to take them down?" "No, we weren't." Interesting. And then I'm just going to shut up and see what their response is. Interesting is one of
what if they get angry? Like, what if they say, "How dare you? I feel offended that you want me to take my family photos down." Has anyone said that?
I mean, people sometimes get offended, but I'm going to say, well, listen, here's what I see. And this is like, if I see their family photos, like if we're walking past them, I always make mention of it. And I'll walk up to them and I say, here's the thing. We sell a ton of houses, and I've shown a ton of buyers over the years. And when there are family photos in the house, what I notice is there's a reluctance to open the cabinet. I want them to open your drawers, especially since you have those nice soft drawer cabinets. I want them to open your drawer and notice that it's soft close. I want them to open the pantry and see how big it is. I want them to open your master closet or your primary closet, whatever it is now. But anyway, I want them looking at the house and envisioning themselves in your house. The problem is when you have your family photos up, they come over and they look at the wall and they go, I think I know this person. I think I know, like, I've seen them around. We're in a town of 36,000 people. You've seen that person at the grocery store, I guarantee you. So they're going to start looking at the people, and they're going to start feeling as though they're walking through somebody else's house.
Yeah,
you want them to take ownership of your house as you're walking through. So you're packing it up anyway. We're going to sell your house in a reasonable amount of time. Just get rid of the family photos. And that's it. Yeah. Like, I'm not having that debate with them. And if it goes further, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm guessing that you invited me into your home today because I'm the expert in selling houses that didn't sell the first time. And I don't think you called me because you expected me to tell you to do all the things that you did last time and maybe we'll sell it this time. You told me to come in because you want me to sell your house. This is what it's going to take to sell your house. And expired listings, they will punch out any list you give them. Any list. As long as it's not ultra expensive. So yeah, you're going to have to, I see that this carpet is frayed on the edge. There's a couple ways we can handle that. I think we might be able to get a carpet cleaner in here to repair that, or you might have to throw new carpet in that room. Well, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I get it. I wouldn't want to change my carpets either. And I'm not messing around with that. Like, you want to hit your goals, you're going to help me help you. And they appreciate the honesty. They don't want somebody to come in and blow smoke up their backside. That's what they've had with their last 1, 2, 3 agents. So
most successful listing agents are probably bossy people. People want to be led. They want to feel like someone is firmly in control, competent, and confident during the process. And I am very similar to you. I find that they welcome being led. They don't want a shrinking violet. I mean, look, if you guys are scared that you're going to get fired before you even start because you don't know how to tell them that their house smells like cat urine, you shouldn't probably be a listing agent. You have to learn how to share information. It's not your information. Don't own it. You're a messenger, right? You are simply there to provide value. You got to figure out a way to deliver messages to sellers, in a way that makes them not fire you. I don't know another way to put that. Yeah.
And if they do fire you, who cares? It's a house that's not going to sell. A house that smells like cat urine at market value is not going to sell. So I might give them options via. I learned this from who's the FBI negotiations guy, the book?
Chris Voss.
Chris Voss.
Yeah.
So Chris Voss.
Sorry that I knew that so slowly.
Yeah, give options, right? So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't have to replace your carpet. I'm not sitting here telling you that you have to replace your carpet. But if you don't replace your carpet prior to listing, it's going to cost you $30,000. Would you like to take $30,000 off of market value, or would you like to replace your carpet?
Oh, that's good. I like that. Now that I learned today. That's good. I like that a lot. I'm probably not doing that well enough. That's good.
I think that's huge, right? Like I had a house the other day that just had some sloppy drywall. They'd had some damage years ago, and when they redid the drywall, they just didn't tape it up correctly, and it just looked bad. And this is an expensive house, and so I said we need to fix this. We need to get this texture taken care of. And they said, well, in this market, I'm just going to sell it as is. We can market it as is, but just so you know, when people see as is in the marketing description, you're inviting lowball offers, and it's going to cost you about $30,000. Are you okay with that? No, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Well, let's just it's going to be like $1,000. Let's just fix this. And frankly, if they don't have money, there's an opportunity to increase your price and give them an interest-free loan.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And you can put a lien on their property. That's the beautiful thing about real estate. All right, let's move on. I want to have time to move into your Loom videos because I got the most feedback on that.
Yeah.
And so can you just maybe give everybody an overview? Because some people were not at the first one. Do you want to maybe show a clip of a video you've done to give them just a brief clip? Is that too much to ask?
Yeah. And last time the clip didn't work out very well. So I'll just kind of show you what I do.
Even better. Cool. There you go.
I'm going to click this share screen thing. Which one am I sharing? Right here. All right. Sorry, I got 3 screens up all the time. Can you?
I understand. Yes, we can see.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So here I am in the MLS. This is what I'm doing. So I'm going to my hot sheet, and today we don't have any expired listings. But what I'm doing is I'm checking this out, and I'm going here and I'm clicking on expireds. There's nothing there right now.
There's one
but
canceled.
I'm going to click on, what's that?
There was a canceled.
There was a canceled. Yeah, that's true. And so let's just look at that one real quick. And I wonder if we can blur out those names. But anyway, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to click on it. And then I'm going to hit this little Loom icon. So loom.com is the service that I use for screen recording. And the reason I use it is it gives me a little pop-up window with my face in it. Not that my face is a major selling point, but it's not awful. It's not as good as some people's face. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start my recording, and it gives me this little countdown. And so as I'm working through this, I'm going to talk to my potential customer. And on that phone call, if there's some reluctance, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to shoot you a video real quick on what I would have done differently to market your house. Oh, I can't do a Loom right now because Zoom is using my camera.
Oh, yes. A fun little moment. Okay.
Yeah, but it'll pop up my picture there. So basically it has me talking here, and I'm going to look at this and say, hey, here's what I would have done differently to sell your house. Let's look at these photos real quick. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to critique it a little bit. I'm going to say, it looks like these are pretty decent photos, but there's some shadows here and they weren't particularly edited. I'm having a hard time understanding, the floor plan in your house. I'm having whatever it is. And these are pretty decent photos in this particular one. This is just kind of an impromptu thing, but I'm going to say, this kind of looks dark, and I don't, is there paper on the counter? Is that a decorative tile? I can't quite tell. The ceiling looks really low here, but I've been in these condos and the ceiling is at least 8 feet tall. I don't know why the ceiling looks so low in these photos. Like we would adjust that because our professional photographer will just lower the camera and it'll give you a more expansive view. And so I'm just going through their old listing and kind of critiquing it and saying, let me show you what we do differently. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pop up one of our listings, and we'll just pick one here. Let's just look at this one. So I'm going to pull up our listings. I'm going to say, we have a professional photographer here. We're going to 3D image the house, and I'm going to, and I'll show them what I do, and then I'll look at my social media. And so basically I'm just walking them through everything that I would have done differently to market their house. And so I do that on my Loom video. If the other listing looked fantastic, like I'm probably not doing the same kind of video that I would before. So once I do that, it gives you a link. You send that link out, and then you can see when somebody clicks on it and watches the video. So it's basically just a brief overview of what I would have done differently. And I send that to them. I try to keep it 10 to 12 minutes. I incorporate a lot of the things in my listing agreement. Let me see. This is also a good training, series. I have tons of training on my Loom site. I'm trying to find one of the originals, but that's the gist of it. Is basically you're trying to differentiate yourself. How I plan to sell this house, and I can see that they came back in and they looked at it. And here's one that I did live for somebody. And actually, you'll notice this looks awfully familiar, Via. This is we've used Brivity for years, and frankly, we've modified our listing presentation, but not much.
Good.
So I go through my listing presentation. And
fun fact, everybody, I did not know Bryan used Brivity when I first asked him to be on this webinar. I had no idea. So I asked him independently of that. Bryan, from a process perspective, you're calling immediately. If you get the appointment, are you still doing this?
If I get the appointment, yeah, sure, why not?
Okay.
And I'll say this, like, it's going to be disheartening. The first few times I did it, I was like, nobody watches these things. But what's really funny is after you meet and you're like, oh, I actually gave a pretty exhaustive overview of what I would have done differently. Let me reiterate a few of those things. You'll notice that they go back through and they click on it. So it's kind of fascinating.
So you send it. So you set the appointment, and then you send the email with the Loom video. Then you go on the appointment, or do you typically send it after?
I'll usually send it before.
You'll send it before, and then potentially after as well.
This is my favorite line that I ever heard from Ben Kinney, and I use it all the time. Is there anything other than price you'd like to discuss before we list your property?
Yeah.
And sometimes on these expired listings, you're like, you know what? I saw what you do. I saw that video. That was amazing. My other broker did nothing like that. And yeah, we'll just sign the paperwork. Good to go. Well, first, I do need to see the house. So let me just walk through it real quick so I understand what we're dealing with.
Oh, that's on the phone.
Yeah. No, in person. When you
first walk in.
When I knock
you
on
just
the door.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And I'm not.
So you'll just walk in the door. So like, hi, Bryan, nice to meet you. Thank you. Da 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 da. hey, just before we get started, is there anything besides price that we should talk about in order for me to list your home? You go right into that.
Before we start on paperwork. Yeah, why not?
I've only ever used that at the end. I've never thought about using it at the beginning. Wow, smart.
Ben, I think we were at Mega Camp and Ben did a special brevity like training thing. And I think that's where he covered it. I could be wrong.
Okay. Okay. No, I that's awesome.
But yeah, he said he starts out with, is there anything, besides price that you'd like to discuss before we start on paperwork? And I was like, that's fun. I like that. And I've had, most of the time people want to discuss a lot of times people go, whoa. Let's just visit first. And I'm not really approaching expired listings like that. If I tell them I'm coming out to see the house for a potential buyer, I'm not starting with that. But often on the phone, if I know that they want to sell their house, if I've gauged their motivation, I say, hey, sometimes my opening to get out is, hey, I would love to interview for the job of getting your house sold. Could I come out at 1 and interview today? And if they ask me to interview and I send them this and I see that they've watched it, I will say, hey, I saw that you saw my video. Do you have any questions about that? No, actually, I don't. Like, that was really thorough. Well, do you have anything besides price you want to discuss before we get started on the paperwork?
That's so good. That's so great. That's awesome. That's great.
Here's the thing, Via, is that I'm never the smartest guy in the room. I mean, I sell used houses for a living. But I will implement something. If somebody like Ben tells me to do something, if it seems reasonable enough, I'm just going to go do it. And I think the people who will be successful in this coming market are going to be building their skills, but also implementing. Like, I have a cabinet over there, and I think you're with Keller Williams too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Personally, I have a stack of training in there from things I've been to over the years, like this. And then in my OneNote file in Microsoft, I've got literally, I was counting the other day, I was like, man, I have 600 pages of notes from webinars, masterminds, different things I've been to. And I'm like, if you just, the way I approach it is I used to go to these conferences or listen to a webinar like this, and I'd say, oh, I'm blowing up my business. I'm redoing everything. And sometimes that meant moving people out, moving people in. But now, you should, when you're listening to this webinar, you should listen to it and go, okay, there's one thing that I want to implement after this. Like, I'm going to call an expired.
Always.
I might nosedive, but that's an opportunity to get up to bat that I didn't have before. So just implement. Sorry, that's a rabbit trail.
100%. And the one thing I would add to that too is if, there's a million expired scripts. Like, there's more expired listing scripts on how to get appointments than probably any other category. Another way to look at it is choose expired listings in circle prospecting areas of listings you've sold, and just genuinely call, even if they're kind of old, because everyone's dropped off by then. Call and just say, hey, I noticed your listing came off the market. I'm guessing it's because the market was shifting and things were changing. You had a different expectation walking in, to the market than no one knew that a recession would be hitting this quickly. I sold 2 houses in that neighborhood, and I think I can help you. And I actually have a really good insight and have buyers that just be genuine, be sincere. It may not work. You may find that you're going to want to go back to language patterns that are a little bit more effective, but you can start formulating your own. I find that the best way to get into lead generating that I haven't done before is to start with a more purposeful list. So that I source it based on past production. When you legitimately have a buyer. When you legitimately have a buyer who's seen all the houses, right, it kind of gives you, I think, the courage of your convictions to move forward on those. So I don't know what you think on that, Bryan, but that's my advice to any new agent or any experienced agent that wants to start a new lead gen pillar.
Just go do something. It's like, it's like me, right? Like, I collect guns, but I never use them. And I see Ben Kinney on his Facebook, and I'm like, that guy just went hunting in Alaska. I should do that. That seems cold. I'm just going to keep collecting. And you guys do that with scripts. You sit here and you got 30 scripts, use one, just use it. You don't have to implement perfectly, just implement.
I agree.
I was training two new agents that I onboarded onto my team this week. And one of the things we do a lot of role play. And I'm like, all right, pick up the phone. Like, and they're
real play.
Yeah. I mean, pick up the phone and start calling. Call somebody on your list of 250, since that's another thing we stole from Ben. Sorry, Ben. I'm a habitual thief when it comes to a lot of this stuff on here. But we do the 250 people on a spreadsheet. So I say, call one. And one guy, he had failed over and over and over again in script practice and role play. And he gets on the phone with this lady and he butchers the script. And he goes, hey, I'm in real estate now. I'm on a really good real estate team. Do you know someone who wants to buy a house? And that's what he says. And I'm like, that is not what I trained you on. And she goes, as a matter of fact, I do. And so we did 20 contacts that day. The problem is that you're sitting there, like we do this all the time. The longer you look at that phone, the heavier it gets. That's a 500-pound phone after you look at it for 3 hours. Pick it up, make your dials, use a script. Like you could Google it right now, and I don't care if it's Ben, Kinney, Tom Ferry, whomever. You're going to find an expired script, and it's going to work. Just get out there and get your reps in. It's like lifting weights. I don't care. Like I tried to lift 200 pounds when I was a sophomore in high school, like to max out. It hit me in the chest so hard I was bruised. Now I do that routinely because I had to work up to it. That's the same with your expired stuff. Get your reps in.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, it's perfect. As we wrap up, I think that we should probably say something for our safety, but on do not call lists. It is imperative that none of you are calling do not call lists, that you are adhering to all of the guidelines on that. Like I cannot stress that enough, right? Yeah. It is really important right now that you pay attention to that. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that everyone's aware that we fully adhere to that, and think you should too.
And one of the questions, sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
One of the questions in the comments that I saw in the last video was, how do you navigate the do not call list? By navigate, I like circumvent, like go around that. Do not, circumvent's the wrong word. Do not call anybody on the do not call list, period. Don't do it. Get a warm introduction on Facebook from one of your friends, have them call you, send a letter, send a postcard, knock on their door. Do not call them. That's a $10,000 fine per occurrence. It will put you out of business before you get a chance. Like there's also some pretty heavy punitive damages out there. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Right. And if you're not using software that scrubs for that, then change your software. So,
right. Change your software, or like you can go download the do not call list.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah. All right. So we have 1 minute left. You told me earlier off camera about some really cool software that I thought was really good for safety. Would you mind sharing?
Yeah. It's called Forewarn. Basically what it does is it's a risk mitigation software. And so you log into it, and it's like $20 a month, which for safety, I think it's well worth it. But if you get a call, like a sign call, you can actually punch their phone number into Forewarn, and it's forewarn.com. But you punch their phone number in there, and it'll pull up their name and their criminal background history. And I can tell you, it's pretty thorough. Like it picked up a defensive driving class from me that I got in Arizona when I was 17, because I was speeding. But evidently, since it went through the court system, it picked it up. So if somebody's guilty of a violent crime or something like that, not that I want to hold somebody's past against them, but I'm not going to risk my broker's safety in my office. So if it's a yes, my admin is allowed to leave the office whenever, if somebody feels uncomfortable, has a little check in their gut, like you take somebody with you or you don't go, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not losing anybody.
Safety is a really big deal for me. So I just wanted to, that's a great place to end. So Bryan Crawford, thank you so much. I know that everyone was asking, over and over for you to come back and do a little bit more of a deep dive, which I think we did. So hopefully this helps all of you guys. Do me a favor, everybody. If you are on our email list, if you're not, by the way, you should be, benkinneyagenttraining.com. You can sign up to be on our email list. But if you're watching this on our leadership mentoring page, however you're watching this on YouTube, send me a message and let me know that you called at least one expired. It would mean a lot to me if I knew you took this webinar and went into some kind of action. So do me a favor, make at least one phone call, just rip off the Band-Aid, just try it. It's okay if you fail. I don't care about that. I care about the action. Effort counts. And let me know. It's via@benkinneyagenttraining.com. So via is weird, man. It's VIJA. So VIJA at benkinneyagenttraining.com. Okay, we will see you guys next week. I almost did finger guns, which is so bad. So bad.
Well, we talked a little bit about guns earlier.
This is no finger gun via. Yeah. I will see you guys next Wednesday at noon. And thank you again, Bryan Crawford, for being here. Bye, everybody.